back to Thrashers Paradise. That was Valentine with their song Your Betrayal. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm very pleased to welcome in all the way via Zoom. He is a member of a band returning to the metal scene after a 12-year hiatus. I am here with Eric from I'm gonna Derelict? No, it's
Derelict. Yeah, you're good.
oh
You're
Derelict. I
good.
said it right. I impressed
Yeah.
myself. Yay.
You got it, Colin. You're doing okay, man. We're
Oh,
gonna make
thank
it through this, you and me.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Eric, I just want to personally thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule just to sit down with me. I know it's
Pleasure.
very late and I know it's weird to do a radio thing on a Tuesday night, but I greatly appreciate it, man. Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure, and no, it's all good, man. They always, that's how the world works. They put metal shows late at night because that's apparently all we deserve, right? They put us late, so there you go.
Yeah, unfortunately, but you know what? At least we're getting a chance to show off our awesomeness
Absolutely,
in
man.
some ways and forms. But no, so right off the bat, I would like to ask, are you an original member of the band?
Yeah, I'm the
Yes.
last remaining original member from 2005. Um,
Wow.
yeah, we had a lot of lineup changes over the years. This is actually the first album, the one we just put out, is the first album without Jordan Perry, who was our drummer all through that time. Him and I were both original members. Um, so yeah, that was I am the survivor.
So for you personally, how exciting is it to have Derelict come back after a 12-year gap?
It's great, man. I mean, honestly, I didn't really think we would ever do it. I always hoped, and I had kept doing. I had been in a couple of other bands and stuff over the ensuing decade, um, but it's really awesome. And Max, who's the other guitar player, singer with me, and I like writing the record was really refreshing because we realized like, oh, we're older, but it means we're kind of wiser. We're able to get along and collaborate much more easily. Um, and it was just been a really nice thing to do to remind myself that, like, oh, yeah, there's no age for music, there's no like limit. You can do it. You just have to kind of find the time.
That is completely understandable, and I can relate to you with that one. Maybe not with writing music or coming up with new lyrics and all that, but for interviewing, like you just have to find the right times and place, and also just be in the right headspace to probably be able to follow through with the interview and make sure you are able to give the interviewee the best possible questions you can and ensure that they're going to be intrigued or at least kind of captivated by what you're being asked and not thrown off too much with why is he asking me this random thing.
Sure. Yeah.
But so the new album is called Versus Entropy. Did I
Yes.
say that right?
Yes, you did.
Wow, I'm really impressing myself tonight with
Doing
my
great.
speech. Thank you. Uh so very Versus Entropy. For you, what kind of inspired that name for this new chapter in the Derelict saga?
Well, it's a great question. I mean, so we usually have, I mean, going back now to 2000, no, even 2008. Yeah, pretty much almost everything we've ever put out, there was always a title track that like gave the album its title. I've always liked doing that. So this was the first song. Versus Entropy is the first track on the record, and it was the first one we wrote for the record. Um, and the idea behind it is so like if you're into physics and science and stuff, entropy is like yeah, I'm not a physicist, but it's the basically the concept of the eventual heat death of the universe. Like everything sort of moves towards a gradual state of chaos and decay. And that, like in a cosmic sense, obviously with stars and all that happens, but it also happens like in our observable life, right? Like if you build a structure, immediately that structure starts to get weathered and damaged. If you clean something, moments later it has an accumulation of dust on it. If you like get in good shape, the second you stop, your body starts to revert back and adapt back to like a sedentary state, or we continuously age. So it's basically this idea, just branching off the high-minded physics part of it, that everything is sort of always falling apart, and almost none of our human like ways of thinking, our philosophies, our systems, almost none of them actually like accept that. Everything we do, we're always trying to seek this state of permanence. People want to like be people want to live forever, people want to have a legacy, or think things that will last forever. um and so versus entropy, we live in this constant state of struggle against decline, which to me like is just super anxiety provoking, right? We're always kind of trying not to have things fall apart. So that's what that song is about. It's honestly something that I've struggled with a lot in my own life, right? Like trying to like, you know, make something and just have it stay that way. Um, and I mean, I sort of like the double meanings to things. So like that song is just about like human life, but you could also look at it as being about the band too, because like time wears away at everything, including like a musical project. So we're just kind of like still holding on against that, and fighting against it. So that's what it's about.
Awesome. Now, it did come out last Friday, June 21st. So 4 days into it being out into the world and for the public to hear Derelict for the first time, either in their lives or for the longest time, what's it been like reception wise? Has it been received well? Has it been received okay? Or have you just been flourished with all the feedback?
Honestly, we're pretty happy with like all the critical feedback. Like, we've gotten a lot of messages from people who that we know or that are fans of the band, that like don't have to take time out of their day to send us messages saying like, wow, we're really happy with this record, that da, da, da. So that's a really good feeling. That's always like, for me making music, it's like if anyone outside of my immediate circles has ever liked a song that I wrote, then I'm like, okay, like I did a good job. So that's happened now many times over, but it's really cool to have it happening now. We've had a couple of positive reviews, and like it's interesting to see like the names of people popping up in the social media comments. Like you recognize some people, it's like, oh yeah, that's a fan name I recognize from back in the day that used to comment on our stuff. There was a guy who sent us a picture of like he had like two Derelict t-shirts and three CDs, and he put them on his bed and he took a picture and he's like, I've been around since you guys like started. Like, oh, that's really cool. Yeah, so all in all, people seem to be very happy with what we put out. um, People seem to be saying like they're hearing in the record what we intended, to put out. So yeah, couldn't really be happier about that. Again, never expected to do it again, so here we are.
Here we are so many years later. So my next question is, because I'm very curious about this, how long has versus entropy been in the works?
That's a good question. I think it was only 2 years. So what ended up happening was we stopped, the band like completely stopped in 2013. Um, and it was a very like, amicable split. Like Max, who's my main collaborator in Derelict, and our old drummer Jordan. Like the three of us are really, really close friends, and we kept in touch through all that time. And then in 2022, the 10-year anniversary of our last album, Perpetuation, was coming up. So we were just kind of, blah, 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 shooting messages back and forth. And then Max said, you know what? He's like, I have a riff and it kind of sounds like a Derelict song. And I was like, send me that shit. And he sent me the riff. And as soon as I heard it, I was like, oh, I know what comes next. So I wrote a riff and I sent it back. And he was like, oh. So before long, we had a song. And that's the single Clear Cut that came out in 2022. We did just that one song. Um, but we like the versus entropy, the song, I wrote that, I think, immediately after the last thing I wrote for Clear Cut. So right somewhere in well, I guess we put that out in 2022. We probably started writing it in 2021. So end of 2021, early 2022 was when we started writing, and it went surprisingly fast. And we just kind of wrote it and then got to tracking.
So all the pieces kind of fell into the right place and just it evolved so quickly that now,
Yeah,
ta-da.
yeah, yeah. I mean, also, I think one of the things that sped it up is that because of the way our band works now, the four of us live in different parts of the world. So we work remotely, which for some people, like some people don't understand how, a band can do that. For us, it works really well. But it also means that because of our distance, we don't play live. So a lot of the time that a band spends together is spent often like rehearsing for shows and preparing for that, which that was when we were a live band, that was definitely like a huge part of our time commitment. When you don't have that going on, the band is solely writing and recording. You can put a lot of time into it compared to when you're like splitting it up between writing, recording, rehearsing, booking shows, driving around, all that. So I think that helped too.
I can understand that. Now, on the topic of being a live band, do you think that the possibility of maybe doing a one-off show here and there is out of the question, or has that been something that's been him and hod?
It would it would be amazing, and I would definitely love to do it. It would be very logistically and financially difficult. We have so I myself live now in Nova Scotia. I'm in Cape Breton, Sydney. Max is the only remaining member in our original hometown of Montreal. Our drummer, Tommy McKinnon, he's our newest member. He used to be in Neuraxis, he's in Acurion. He lives in Vancouver. And our bass player, Sebastien, lives in Switzerland. So getting everybody in the same place would be quite expensive, and it would require either everyone having that time available away from their careers, or like the kind of like contractual offer that you can't refuse. But we all know that that's kind of rare in metal. So yeah, so I mean, I'd love to, but I if I had to bet on it, I would say it's probably not going to happen anytime soon. But
Mhm.
someone's listening and they a recent lottery winner and they want to finance a Derelict tour and replace our salaries for a couple of weeks. Hey, hit me up.
Okay, wow, Switzerland. That is, you had me. It was Vancouver, Montreal, Sydney, Nova Scotia. It's like, okay. Then you said Switzerland. It's like, oh, yeah, that really sticks a nail into things.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, like, it's all, think about the difference in time zones. Like, I'm an hour, Max and I are an hour apart, so that's not so bad when we're
Yeah.
coordinating stuff. But Tommy and Seb, I don't even know what that is. It's like 12 hours or something.
Oh,
It's a lot.
wow.
So even
Yeah.
just like planning, a streaming party for the album or things like that, like you can't really do it at a time that's going to work for everybody. It's just the reality. But we still got it to work. So for
Hmm.
the recording.
Wow, that's just crazy to have your members so scattered across the world. But also, it's great that you didn't let it stop you guys from making this album and just continuing the passion of Derelict.
Yeah.
Now, I know we're talking about versus Entropy and this album right now, but has there already been some roots set for maybe future, even songs that
Yeah.
could come out?
Yeah, totally. So very much, well, actually, okay. After we finished recording the guitars, so I always do music recording stuff in chapters. So it's the same thing with my band, Sam Scaris. I was playing a lot of the instruments and singing. So it's like, okay, we'll record the guitars. Then I'm done my guitar parts. Then I went into vocal mode. Okay. I finish all the lyrics, rehearse the vocals, then record the vocals. So all of that was like, waves of time over several months. And then we went into like finalizing the album, getting everything going. And now, just recently, just before it came out, I was like, man, play some guitar, started writing, wrote a couple of songs. Max wrote a couple of songs. So we're already like 4 or 5 songs, not finished, but big
Mhm.
chunks of them. So I'm pretty confident to say that we're going to keep releasing music. There'll probably be another album in realistically the next couple of years. 2, 3 years would be realistic, I would hope.
That's exciting.
Yeah, it's
That
uh,
that
it's awesome. Again, when you never think, when I never thought I would be doing this again, and to be like, oh shit, we're gonna end up putting out like as much as we did before we stopped. So it's kind of cool.
awesome. For you personally, which song off of this album did you personally find was giving you the most difficulties, whether it be writing or recording or just trying to get the feel of?
Oh, that's a good question, man. So let me think. Well, there's two answers to that. One is the song Dans les Dents, which is a song in French, track 6. That was one that Max brought to the table, and I couldn't think of anything I wanted to change on it. So it's like it's pretty rare for a Derelict song. Either like we'll always work on each other's songs and we end up both having like songwriting credit. I was like, dude, this song is amazing. However, it's really hard to play. There's if you listen to the beginning of it, there's like a tapping like run at the beginning where he's got us tapping but moving the tapping position inside of each. Anyway, it's hard to play. So
Mhm.
that was a challenge for sure because I was adapting to Max's playing. As far as composition, the one I struggled with the most lyrically was the song Terminal, which is track 3. Um, the riff, I really, really like the riff. I really like everything about it. It was for some reason tough to find vocal patterns on it. And then even once I did, I wrote like 3 different versions of the lyrics of different topics, and I kept going like, "Ugh, this sucks." And it's rare that, like for me, usually once I figure out the topic, I keep that and I keep refining until it's done. This I literally wrote a whole song and I was like garbage. I threw out the lyrics and I started over. Um, and in the end, I did leave in some of the vocal patterns that I found a little bit more not usual for my style. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to take a chance. I'm going to do, there's like some cadences in there that reminded me of Cradle of Filth. And I was like, I don't know if this is me, but whatever. It's what's coming out. Let's go ahead. We're going to do it. So
You made it work.
yeah, I like the song now. I really like listening to it now. I'm like, oh, awesome. But at the time, it was more of a struggle.
Understandable. Eric, I have one last question for you before I let you go. It's more of a fun question we ask here for all of our first time guests.
Cool.
Who would win in a fight, Lemmy or God?
Let me, oh God. I mean, I feel like what you're supposed to say as a metalhead is that like that's a trick question because Lemmy is God, right? Isn't that the
Yeah.
I think though that if we're gonna honor Lemmy, Lemmy would probably sit there and argue with you about the existence of a god at all. He'd be like, why are you fucking asking this question?" And he'd go on and he'd be like, "This is, you know," and that's what he'd probably do.
Yeah, yeah, yes. I no one has ever thought of it that way before, and I truly appreciate that. Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on to Thrash
Hey,
Paradise here tonight to just talk about the brand new album versus Entropy and the return of Derelict. Now, before we let you go, is there any last things you'd like to say to the audience listening to you?
Uh, no, I mean, well, first, thank you for having me on. Like I was telling you before we started, I lived in Hamilton for a little while, so it's nice to, have that connection again. So just saying hello to everybody from Barton Street to the mountain and back down to the water. Um, and yeah, I mean, look, our record is on all the streaming platforms, so you can check it out. We have like a pretty extensive discography now, several releases going back. So if you like it, there's more to hear, and there'll be more to come.
Awesome. Thank you, Eric. And ladies and gentlemen, we now are proud to play off of the brand new album Versus Entropy. Here is Versus Entropy by Derelict, and you are listening to it live right here on Indie 1015's Thrashers Paradise.